Hi, welcome to a very experimental edition of Storytime Live. Tonight we've got the complete tales of Beatrix Potter in front of us. My name's Uncle Abs, and every single night we read a bedtime story. We've been reading all the way through lockdown. We're on show number 73 today, but this is going to be the last week of Storytime Live for now. It takes us to, I think, 77 stories in total. So I thought we'd finish with a little bit of Beatrix Potter, but also I thought it would be nice to get outside. I hope you've had a lovely day, whatever you're doing today. I hope some of this sunshine, if you're trapped indoors, is filtering through the television or through the computer screen to you. I'm just trying to find tonight's story. This one I loved as a kid. And I hope I do it justice. It's the Tale of Tom Kitten. And let's see how we go. Hopefully you can hear me as well. These are my snazzy earphones that hopefully you can hear me through. Okay, right, here we go. Once upon a time, there were 3 little kittens, and their names were Mittens, Tom Kitten, and Moppet. Ho, ho, ho. They had dear little fur coats of their own, and they tumbled about the doorstep and played in the dust. But one day their mother, Mrs. Tabitha Twitchit, expected friends to tea, so she fetched the kittens indoors to wash and dress them before the fine company arrived. There's the kittens all playing together. Naughty kittens. At first she scrubbed their faces. This one is Moppet. There he is, having his face scrubbed. Lovely jubbly. Then she brushed their fur. This one's Mittens, you can see on the chair, second one down. It's quite heavy, this book. Then she combed their tails and whiskers, and this one's Tom Kitten. Tom was very naughty, and he scratched. There he is, having his whiskers done. I'll try and get that to you. There he is. It's going to be fun showing you the pictures today. Right, so that's the 3 kittens. We've met the 3 kittens. Mrs. Tabitha dressed Moppet and Mittens in clean pinafores and tuckers, and then she took all sorts of elegant, uncomfortable clothes out of the chest of drawers in order to dress up her son Thomas. Good idea. Tom Kitten was very fat, and he had grown several buttons burst off. Pop, 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 because he'd grown a bit of a pot belly. And his mother sewed them on again. When the 3 kittens were ready, Mrs. Tabitha unwisely turned them out into the garden. But to be out of the way while she buttered her hot toast. Now, keep your frocks clean, children, she said. You must go for a little walk on your hind legs and keep away from the dirty ash pit and from Sally Hennypenny and from the pigsty and the puddle ducks. So here's the kittens. Well, they look very smart, actually. There they are, the 2 girls and Tom Kitten. And you can see Tom Kitten's buttons are a little bit too big for him. Or sorry, yeah, you know what I mean. His tummy's too big. So it's all popped out. Where to next? Yes, stay away from the puddle ducks. Moppet and Mittens walked down the garden path unsteadily. Presently they trod upon their pinafores and fell on their noses. Oops. When they stood up, there were several green smears. On those lovely white petticoats. Oh no. Oh no. See, they've had a bit of a tumble. Don't worry, Tom Kitten's still got all of his stuff intact. Let us climb up this rockery and sit on the garden wall, said Moppet. They turned their pinafores back to front and went up with a skip and a jump. Moppet's white tucker fell down into the road. Tom Kitten was quite unable to jump when walking upon his hind legs in trousers. He came up the rockery by degrees, breaking the ferns and shredding buttons from right to left. He was all in pieces when he reached the top of the wall, and Moppet and Mittens tried to pull him together, but his hat fell off and the rest of his buttons burst. Oh, this is funny. So he's trying to catch a butterfly there, and then he tries to get up the rockery, but not with much success. Oh dear. Tom Kitten. Naughty, naughty Tom Kitten. I'm reading Storytime Live. Is that okay? Well, I couldn't hear what you said. Oh, yeah, it's me. I just thought it was a stranger in the field. Sorry about that. Not very exciting. While they were in difficulties, there was a pit, pat, poddle, pat, and 3 puddle ducks came along the hard, high road, marching one behind the other, and doing the goose step. Pit, pat, poddle, pat. That's not even what it says. Pit, pat, paddle, pat. Pit, pat, waddle, pat. They stopped and stood in a row and stared up at the kittens. They had very small eyes and looked surprised. Then the 2 duck birds, Rebecca and Jemima Puddle Duck, picked up the hat and tucker and put them on. They've stolen their clothes. Look. Oh dear. What a good idea. Mittens laughed so that she fell off the wall, and Moppet and Tom descended after her. The pinafores and all the rest of Tom's clothes came up and fell off on the way down. Oh, come, Mr. Drake Puddle Duck, said Moppet. Come and help us dress him. Come and button up Tom. Mr. Drake Puddle Duck advanced in a slow sideways manner and picked up the various articles. But he put them on himself, and they fitted him even worse than Tom Kitten. It's a very fine morning, said Mr. Drake Puddle Duck. He's in Tom Kitten's clothes now. Those naughty puddle ducks. What an adventure. What an adventure this one is. And I think that someday I shall have to make another larger book to tell you more about Tom Kitten. As for the puddle ducks, they went into the pond and the clothes all came off directly because there were no buttons. And Mr. Drake Puddle Duck and Jemima and Rebecca have been looking for them ever since. The end. So that's the story of Tom Kitten. And that's how it ended, looking for the clothes in the pond. Ha 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 ha! So you'll have noticed it's a slightly different edition of Storytime Live today. It's a little bit crazy, but we're outdoors. We're making the most of it, and hopefully you enjoyed tonight's book, The Complete Tales of Beatrix Potter. We didn't get through them all, but we did hear a little bit about Tom Kitten. So, as always, who would like to hear it one more time? Okay, let's do our first outdoors one more time. Here we go. One more time. One more time. Do you want me to read it again? One more time. One more time. One more time. Yes, please, Uncle Abs. All right, then. We'll have to read it again then, won't we? Woo! I couldn't get the slippers out today. It's great that it's still sunny. Probably a bit early for bed, but never too late or too early for a bedtime story. So this one is called Tom Kitten. It's the tale of Tom Kitten. It was actually written, look, in 1907. Can you see that? So it's quite an old book from a long time ago. So here we go. Once upon a time, there were 3 little kittens, and their names were Mittens, Tom Kitten, and Moppet. They had dear little fur coats on them, and they tumbled across the doorstep and played in the dust. But one day their mother, Mrs. Tabitha Twitchit, expected friends to tea, so she fetched the kittens indoors to wash and dress them before the fine company arrived. So there they are in the top, all playing, getting all dusty and messy. And then Mum gets the call in, okay, guys, it's time to get nice and smart. First, she scrubbed their faces. This one's Moppet. I'll show you Moppet in a second. Then she brushed their fur. This one is Mittens. I'll show you Mittens in a minute. Then she combed their tails and whiskers, and this is Tom Kitten. Guess what? I'll show you in a minute. Tom was very naughty, and he scratched. Rah, rah. So who we've got? We've got Moppet, Mittens, and Tom. See if you can work out. So the first one's Moppet up at the top. In the middle is Mittens, and then Tom down at the bottom. Mrs. Tabitha dressed Moppet and Mittens in clean pinafores and tuckers, and then she took all sorts of elegant, uncomfortable clothes out of the chest of drawers, and in order to dress up her son, Thomas. Tom Kitten was very fat, and he had grown. Several buttons burst off. His mother sewed them on again, and when the three kittens were ready, Mrs. Tabitha unwisely turned them out into the garden to be on their way while she made hot buttered toast. I'm sure they won't get into trouble. I'm sure they'll be fine. Now, keep your frocks clean, children. You must walk on your hind legs and keep away from the dirty ash pit and from Sally Hennypenny and from the pigsty and the puddle ducks. Understood? Yes, understood, Mum. There's Tom trying to get into all of his kit, but he's a bit of a fat kitten. That's okay. And there he goes off to play in the garden. What's the worst that can happen? Moppet and Mittens walked down the garden path unsteadily. Whoa! Presently they trod upon their pinafores and fell on their noses. Splat! When they stood up, there were several green smears. Ah, let us climb the crockery and sit on the garden wall, said Moppet. They turned their pinafores back to front and went up with a skip and a jump. Moppet's white tucker fell down into the road. Uh-oh. And Tom Kitten was quite unable to jump when walking up his hind legs in his trousers. He came up the rockery by degrees, breaking the ferns and shredding the buttons right to left. Pop, 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 they went. He was all in pieces when he reached the top of the wall, and Moppet and Mittens tried to pull him together. And his hat fell off, and the rest of the buttons then burst. Oh, well, it looks like they're having fun, though. Look, chasing butterflies and climbing up the rockery to the top of the garden. Oh, what an adventure. But I don't think they've listened to their mum, have they? While they were in difficulties, there was a pit, pat, paddle pat, and the three puddle ducks came along the hard high road, marching one behind the other and doing the goose step. Pit, pat, paddle, pat. Pit, pat, waddle, pat. They stopped and stood in a row and stared up at the kittens. They had very small eyes and looked surprised. Then the two duck birds, Rebecca and Jemima Puddle Duck, picked up the hat and tucker and they put them on. Those naughty puddle ducks, dressing up. Pit, pat, paddle, pat. Pit, pat, waddle, pat. It's a nice sound. Mittens laughed so that she fell off the wall. Moppet and Tom descended after her. The pinafores and all the rest of Tom's clothes came off on the way down. Come, Mr. Drake Puddle Duck, said Moppet. Come and help us dress him. Come and button up Tom. Mr. Drake Puddle Duck advanced in a slow sideways manner and picked up various articles using his beak. But he put them on himself. They fitted him even worse than Tom Kitten. "It's a very fine morning," said Mr. Drake Puddle Duck. "Ha! Top of the morning to you. It's a very fine morning. I think you'll agree that I look very smart in my new clothing. That isn't actually mine, it's Tom Kitten's." And he and Jemima and Rebecca Puddle Duck set off up the road, keeping step. Remember? Pit, pat, paddle, pat. Pit, pat, waddle, pat. Then Tabitha Twitchit came down the garden and found her kittens on the wall with no clothes on. Oh, naughty kittens, what have they done? They've had them taken off by the ducks. There they go. Pit, pat, paddle, pat. Pit, pat, waddle, pat. She pulled them off the wall and smacked them and took them back to the house. "Naughty kittens! My friends will arrive in a minute, and you are not fit to be seen. I am affronted," said Tabitha Twitchit. She sent them upstairs and said, "I'm sorry that she told her friends that they were in bed with the measles," which was not true, of course. Quite the contrary. They were not in bed, not in the least. Somehow, there were extraordinary noises overhead which disturbed the dignity and repose of the tea party. I think we missed this bit first time. We got it second time, thank goodness for that. So look, more kerfuffle up in the bedroom whilst Mum's trying to have some tea, oh dear, with her friends. And I think that someday I shall have to make another larger book to tell you more about Tom Kitten. As for the Puddle Ducks, they went into the pond and the clothes all came off directly because there were no buttons. And Mr. Drake Puddle Duck and Jemima and Rebecca have been looking for them ever since. The end. There we go. So that was the tale of Tom Kitten, and there's those ducks looking for those clothes. Jemima Puddle Duck and Rebecca, Mr. Drake Puddle Duck, looking for those clothes. Oh, who was your favourite character? Did you like Tom? Moppet? Moppet was good, wasn't it? What was the other one called? Mittens. Moppet, Mittens, and Tom. Yeah, they were great. And that was the tale of Tom Kitten. Hopefully you enjoyed that one. Little Beatrix Potter for you this evening on Storytime Live. Slightly different setting. As I said, it's our last week, so please keep continuing to share, like, and subscribe to the channel. We've got over 70 stories for you to enjoy now. Scroll through at any time and have a look at those. Enjoy the rest of the day. I hope it's nice and sunny where you are. Bye! Stop streaming. Stop streaming. Now, how do I get home? I think it's this way. Right. Tomorrow, another field.